What is up, guys? And here is my second part to my explanations and theory on Warthunder and how to get good at it. So, I told you on the last part that I was going to talk about my lineup, what I have right now. So, let's go one by one on my scale. Now, your crew and how you make your layout just depends on how neat and organized you want to be and how PCP you want to be about it, how you want to like really be on it. But in reality, it's not that big of a deal how you lay out your line. How I do it, because I really don't like unorganization and all that. I line mine by types and vehicle order. So, you know, I'll do it by what I would use and the BR range. So usually I would have the top BR as my first vehicle or my first layout, but in this case, like I have the Panther A and the Panther F. Um, in reality and in paper, the A and the F are quite similar, but due to my preference and aggression and speed, I prefer the A over the F, so I choose that as my priority vehicle. The G is a good backup for the middle between the playstyle between the A and the F, so that's usually my secondary. And my F is usually my third spawn if I'm having to stay on ground. Another way that I could choose it, if I want to be a long-range sniper, I can either go as the Panther line, or I can also pull out the Yag Panther. But I would mostly only bring the Yag Panther out if I wanted more firepower on the ground, due to it having a larger caliber with the 88, which is a very, very good gun for what it is. It's very fast and quick, and you can get to places fairly unexpectedly. So you could pop out of nowhere and get a couple, 3 kills. But that's just based on map knowledge and you knowing or you having the mods that you can do so. There is a stigma on how your vehicle performs with and without mods. And there will be some videos out saying it doesn't really affect it, but in reality standards, in battles, they do really affect on how you play your vehicles, how aggressively you can push, how quickly you can fight. Um, there is also crew level, which will affect on your performance, on how quickly you can reload, on how far you can see. This is all effects on what you can do. It affects on repair time, which is very crucial in realistic battles, is what I mainly play in. Agility, which is basically how fast you can get your crew member back, really helps when you're in those dire seconds when a tank is in front of you and knocked out your gunner. Vitality, how much can your person take? How much damage can your person take? And in some cases, you can get really lucky where a shell directly goes inside your tank and only reds your crew if you're maxed out. Now, the likelihood that you'll survive most of that if it's a direct impact like solid shot, maybe not, maybe here, maybe there. But it does, all these statistics do affect you. Tank driving, shifting gears, how fast can you accelerate, how fast you can decelerate. Gunner, they have all the same qualities like keen vision, field repair, agility, and vitality in all of the categories except in logistics and services. Targeting, basically how fast you can turn your gun and lift it. That's basically it. Range finding. You, as a newer player, if you are using rangefinders, may be kind of helpful, but in my reality, you learning to train your eye to use it on the ground is a lot better. I know when I started, I definitely couldn't use my eyesight and try to use rangefinder, but in all honesty, it just takes too long. And if you get most games, it's just not enough time for you to range it and shoot at it unless it's at very long ranges. Then let's go to your tank commander. They have all the same qualities that your driver and gunner has, such as keen vision, field repair, agility, vitality, but they also have an additional qualification called leadership. Leadership affects your all your crew skills. So everything that your driver, gunner, tank loader, radio operator, and tank commander himself improve their statistics, I believe, by 5%. 10%, my bad. This slightly brings down the factors like repairs, gun, reload, targeting, driving, radio call-ins for artillery, and the like. Tank loader, same for qualities that all the others have, and weapon reloading. Basically, how fast can you reload your gun? So, if you hover over your statistics, you can see what changes. So, with my base uh, reload, so the stock reload you have without a trained crew at all, you would have a 9.62 reload. Now, with every little hash mark is minus 0.89. And we'll go over this later, but the other sections, which is the star, which just means experting, and then the number one with the achievement mark is an ace. These all affect and coincide with your skills. And as you can see, me being expert, not aced, I only have a 7.4 second reload, which is fairly good, considering that most British tanks have a 5-second reload, which means I'm only 2 seconds uh, slower than they are, compared to the 9.2 that you come out with. So crew skills are a definite fixture on how you can play your vehicles. Radio operator. Same 4 standard, but with 3 new. Artillery, targeting, accuracy. How far can you really read on your map? How far can you really see it, or how far you can really use your artillery so it doesn't deviate as much? Calling time, how fast can you call it in? This one is really off for me. I wouldn't really put it in the priorities for you to do most of the artillery stuff. It's nice to have, but in reality, compared to stuff like weapon reloading, tank driving, targeting, or leadership, it should not be on your top priority. Radio communication is mostly used for arcade and just to have a marker whenever you hit a target or whenever you spot a target in arcade. And we come to logistics and services. Now this, for me, it was the bottom line. It was like the last thing I wanted to get, which would be the repair speeds. These really only affect for free repairs, but if you find a vehicle like how I like the Panther A lot, it really doesn't matter on how fast you can repair, because this goes on the basis on you not playing the vehicle at all. You can see on the fact with me even having an expert crew, 2 days and 5 hours to have 3 repairs, 3 free repairs. In reality, in cost and effectiveness, it's not really worth you spending all your crew experience on stuff like this. And then repair rank, which is how high can you repair your vehicle, which for now it's only rank 7. But if you had to go in order for you to succeed in your games, even starting out in a game, if you're gonna just take a little bit of advice, I'd go weapon reloading, targeting, tank driving, leadership, and then focus on field repair on all your crew. So this way you can not only focus on shooting faster, aiming quicker, driving faster, and then improving on those skills, repairing faster. Okay, that's my small tangent on crews. Back to where I was on my line. So, I also have an organized heavy line, which is my premium command Tiger with the additional plate on it. I don't really like using super heavies, mostly just because of the speed difference, but I still have it there just in case I'm in a defensive game where I want to kind of push back, but I can't really, so I'll hang back and snipe a little bit. Then you usually want to have a designated AA if possible. I brought the awesome one too, even though it is like a whole BR lower, whole point oh BR lower. But you gotta make do with what you have, and it's usually better for you to have a support vehicle than not having one. And then we're gonna go back to my aviation. So I have it set up in 3 categories: CAS, air superiority, and then air superiority CAS. So I have a Dornier 335B2, which is mainly used for ground pounding. It is really, really dangerous if left alone in the air. You usually only take one of these categories. A tank killer, which can turn into a plane killer, but mostly used for anti-ground purposes. You would only use this slot or use this type of vehicle when you are uncontested in air and you feel relatively safe, or if you know you have fighter cover, like a friend that's in a fighter. Then I have my air superiority, which I mainly use if I know that there's like 2, 3 fighters in the air and I know I'm gonna have to go full on anti-plane mode. Now, even with the Tempest, which has no ground ordnance, I will try to find light targets like light tanks, AA, and then this is stuff you'll learn while you're playing. You'll learn categories, you'll learn angles and stuff like that. But mainly focus on stuff like your purpose, which, like I said, this is this is the air superiority. So your main job is to knock out all the planes in the sky. And then I have my air superiority CAS, which is kind of my middle ground that I use if I want to fight air and I have an ordnance drop. This is kind of my middle ground if I kind of just want to use it, or if I want a secondary use of a plane if I have enough points. But I usually stay away from this vehicle unless I know that I'm either in the middle between me wanting to cast and fight planes, or if I just want to focus on one role. Playing this game alone is a lot more difficult than playing with friends or playing with a group of people. Because if you're playing with a group of people, not only can you give yourselves roles and have fun with it, or you can just have fun in general, but it's a lot easier, especially if you have a group of people that are close to each other that have been playing for a while, that you guys can figure out who does what, because everyone plays the game a little bit differently. So what I do may not work for you, but it may work for somebody else. But that's mainly how I set up my lineups. Now, another good tip that I'd like to share with you is if you look at the bottom of my screen, I have my presets. So hopefully they're set up. But I have a lot because I've mostly ground out a lot of my ground and air tree. And some coastal. These spots for creating presets open up with other qualities like you having a certain type of vehicle category or reaching a rank in a vehicle category, like having, let's say, rank 3 in coastal or rank 3 in deep sea ships. They'll open a slot for it. As you unlock vehicles, it'll give you more slots. And I highly recommend that you do this, especially if you play in groups, that you create a line, something similar to this, that where you can find a BR, click on it, and if you have to change a certain few vehicles, it won't be an entire lineup that you'll have to change. Or you might get lucky and you'll find the vehicles that you need right there. So let's say I have a friend that needs to play reserves or 1.7. I'll have that lineup up. So right now I have my reserve and 1.3 lineup. So it's in between my numbers, or I could go 1.0 or 1.7. But I highly recommend new players or anyone that wants to just be organized to create these presets. Even if you don't have enough all the way to 10.7, just enough to where you're at. So let's say you only have 3.7. So I'd only have maybe Air RB, Naval RB 1, 2, and 3, 3, 3, or 3.7. So that way, if I'm playing with people, I don't have to waste people's time by putting in vehicles when you're there and there. You guys can get more battles in that way. That's just a suggestion. So for you guys to think about if when you start playing with groups or if you're already playing with groups, just so you guys can go ahead and start playing. I will recommend that you guys start looking at battle passes. You don't have to purchase one. It's a little kind of a little help, especially if you're researching a tree. You'll get a ton of boosters that have the timers on it. These are timed for a specific amount of use, so unless you really don't need any, it's not doesn't affect you unless you don't really care about it. But a battle pass really does really help you and give you some free RP bonuses and all that stuff. Not only that, you get some unique vehicles. War Bond Shop, I say definitely look at it every rotation. So they're usually in 1 to 3 months rotations for each War Bond Shop. So you can see certain vehicles will be on sale, and you're all able to accomplish it if you do it with most play. So I'm right now at the peak shop, like level 6 shop. So that means I can buy level 6 items, but you'll see that I'll have the star mark times 40. So that means I'd need to do 40 special tasks in order to get one of these items, or I'd need to get, let's say I wanted to get a premium. This is another way you can get premiums for free or bushes. Um, so there will be these blueprints, which will be slots for you that you can do or look up that tell you what you need. So, first off, you'll need war bonds, which will be the currency. This is not purchasable with the GE unless you're doing it through the battle pass. But in reality, if you just do your regular tasks every day like this, just looking at your tasks, see what you need to get done, you can earn those easy, man. But as you can see, I'm not really in a rush to buy any of these or get them. But this is another option for free-to-play players for them to somehow get a premium or camouflage. You can get stuff like talismans, camouflages. You could also get a lot of boosters. You could get backups for your vehicles. That usually is a big help for me. If I have a certain vehicle I'm struggling with or a certain vehicle that I just want to keep playing, backups are a very good way to go to use your war bonds. But that's universal, so you can use these on anything. As long as they have the universal symbol and universal backup in the name, you can use this for any tree, any vehicle tree you want. And then you also have profile icons if that's your fancy. Mostly useless then, though. You can also buy decals for your war bonds. But like I said, mostly just aesthetic, but if that's your thing, you can do it. But yeah, it's just mostly talismans. You could also get camouflages in these boxes for your vehicles. And then here's the big one. This is where you can get free bushes. You'll have to work for it, and it only takes 5 special tasks, which shouldn't be that hard for newer players or moderate playing players. It only takes 5 of these special tasks to do, which you can change after purchase. So let's say I'm going to purchase one. It'll cost some war bonds, and it'll give you options. It'll only focus on what you've recently played. So since I've been recently playing our Ground RB, or since it's my favorite, it will go ahead and look at it and select that as my option. So it says winner required number of battles destroying one enemy vehicle by at least 1.0 battle rating to you. So this means I'll have to kill players that are 1 BR ahead of me. So that'd be, since I'm playing in 6-0, the vehicle, whatever vehicle you're playing, as long as it's rank 3 above, as long as it's a whole point OBR above you, it will count. So let's say I have a 5-7 vehicle. If I kill anything that's 6-7, it will count towards this mission. And you need 2 battles, one with at least 1 enemy kill. And a lot of these challenges are rank 3 and above, so you need to have that category to even start this challenge. You select that. And after you select it, it should pop up in your special tasks window, which will be right here. So you'll see your events tournaments, this will be your battle pass, and then here is your task for the day. I highly recommend new players doing it just so it gets you to play something different, or just so you can get a little bit more money, more boosters, or just more war bonds out of it. Here you can see your daily tasks, which is what you can do for each day. I believe it's every day and resets at, let's say, yeah, it's about an hour from now, so let's say 3 for me. 3 in the morning. And then you have your special task, which is the one we bought from the Warbond shop. As you can see, it has the same details and it tells you how you can get these awards. If you click on the question mark. And then you can pull up your history, which I don't really do many tasks now, since I'm already this far. I will say, do not buy Silver Lions with GE. That is such a huge waste of money just to play a lot more. Just play some more or buy a premium vehicle. It's a lot more cheaper for you to buy a premium vehicle than buying Silver Lions with GE. When you're playing the game, you'll earn free RP, or just expendable RP, whatever you want to call it. You'll earn these with games, and they'll build up over time, but unless you have GE that you want to just burn on a certain vehicle to research, it's not really worth it anyways. The conversion rate's kind of not that good for you as a consumer, but you can do that if you just have a ton and you just want to accelerate, then sure. But in reality, I'd say just keep grinding. It's a lot cheaper for you to just keep grinding than just to buy your way through. And you also learn a lot more skills and you can build up on your knowledge if you continue playing a lot more. I highly, highly, highly recommend once you see a sale go around for premium time or for premium account and all that, I highly recommend you get one. It'll help you research things quicker, you earn more money, basically, and you're allowed to use decals, a lot more decals, so you can use, I believe it is 6 cosmetics, so like bushes and decals, and then they all have their own slots you can use, and it allows you to ban some maps. Which, if you find a map that you don't really like, and you have a premium account, you can just go onto your middle tab, hit, where is it? You hit the cog, and this will pull up a list of maps that you can choose from that are in rotation that you can dislike, and ban. You can only ban one, and you can dislike 4 and like 4. So as you can see, I'd rather play Maginot than play Stalingrad. So I disliked Stalingrad and liked Maginot. Or how I banned Sands of Sinai because I don't want to play that map anymore, and I disliked 38th Parallel. So me having this banned, I believe, means that even if when you're in a squad, if you have this banned, that map will not show up unless you're in something like Squadron Realistic Events battles. And that in itself is a whole different monster once you have a community behind you or once you have a clan behind you. But even after you have all these dislikes and liked and banned, only the banned will not appear in your playstyle if you solo queue. But all the liked and disliked options will happen. So even these ones that don't have liked or dislikes on them, they all have a chance to appear. Just that the ones like that you have liked have a higher chance to appear. Here is where you can choose your select game mode. I'm mostly a realistic player, but everyone has their different choices and everyone has their different ways they want to play their game. But if you really want to get really, really good at the game, I highly recommend, if you're starting out in arcade, bear your teeth off on realistic. It'll be a lot easier with you in realistic knowing where to shoot vehicles compared to just relying on a cursor. So that way you can memorize vehicles, penetrations, and analysis over just using a green hash mark. But that's my opinion, and you can use that as is. Same thing with air arcade and air realistic. I learned that it was just easier for me to picture in my head how far or how far to see compared to in an arcade where it pops up after a distance. Um, Air assault is basically air assault and air ground. I mean, assault ground is just um, it's literally just players versus AI. It gives you some rewards, but it takes a little bit of play. We have now World War and the Warthunder League, which there will be tournaments held, and that's a good way to make GE if you think you have the skills to play against other players, or if you think you can play with some of the top leading competitors. But that's a good way to earn silver lines, wagers, uh, boosters, all the 9 yards. You can earn a lot in those leagues. You just need to win in certain places. Custom battles you can play with your friends. You won't gain anything, but it's just a place where you can play with your friends without having to compete every game. But that's just for playing around basically. Events and tournaments. It'll pull up this tab, which will have usually your sim games, your helicopter battles, and then if you have like an event like the Halloween go-kart event or some winter event, it'll pop up here. These are usually just go have fun events. They don't really have the serious ones here, but that's just go fun events like the PO2 race and stuff like that. And then you have squadron realistic events. Once you're in a squadron that actively participates in this, you will be basically placed in a 8 versus 8 single life game, and you're allowed a maximum of 4 planes, or you can have a whole 8 tanks, or you can have half and half. This is mostly based just for bigger clans or even if you want to start a clan, as long as you have 8 that are willing to get together and play, you can get in this experience. And this definitely builds team comp. If you have a lot of good friends, or if you have a clan that really wants to get together and start building leadership, or that wants to start somehow just building a program, it's a good way to introduce new players together into it. But it's just basically a way to communicate to each other. It's fighting against 8 versus 8 clans, but in reality, it's just a way to build together as a team and work together. In my eyes, that's how I see it. It's not just a competition. Hit on your top left, you can see all your statistics. You can see that you can switch from arcade realistic sim. You can see the service record of your most played vehicles. You can also do it by statistics, victories, respawns, deaths, targets destroyed, money earned, research earned. You also can do the same thing with your player card. You can see it from arcade, realistic, to sim. Medals, they usually have some sort of things that you need to have for it. So like players defeated, capturing zones while damaged, playing against different players, amount of missions played. These will happen with time, and you can get them in all the nations except Israel for now. Then you'll have achievements, which you can see stuff like the Battle Pass, challenges, stuff like the CBT, like if you see a new update coming and they're introducing something new like the Israel Air Tree. They'll give, even if you don't purchase any of the Israel vehicles, so you can get early access. If you do all the Tesla stars, you'll be able to earn uh, early rights just by doing these challenges. Over here, you can also see your titles, you can see decals, you can also see achievements that can also earn you money and RP. Mostly free RP, but it gives you money, free money. And you can see these challenges, which you can do. You don't really have to track any of this. This will all happen in time. This will all happen all by itself. You can just check it once in a while, but you don't have to collect anything here. It'll automatically be given to you once you achieve the challenges. Over here, you can see the statistics of your vehicle, armor values, crew that you have, engine power, speed, visibility are all factors. When you start up your game, you usually have it in the off option, but it'll stay in whatever you left it last. So I usually leave it in my armor value so you can look at this. And I highly recommend everyone, before you get a game, know your vehicle. Know, like, research, in-depth look into it. See where they can see how it would be better to play your vehicle. And this way you can see where your vehicle faults at, how you can achieve it, how you can use it, see the most thickness you can have it, know the layering system, and just see all signs of weakness of your vehicle. And you'll also learn all this by just getting killed. If you actively play and trying not to die and trying to fight back, you'll learn your weak points eventually. By using your armor section, you can also pull up something called protection analysis. In protection analysis, you can pull up a section which will allow you to choose what you're fighting against. So let's say we're fighting ground, which is army, and let's say we're fighting the Americans. And it also lets you choose by rank where the vehicles are. So let's go with rank 4. Let's say I'm fighting a Jumbo 76. And usually, after you start playing for a while, you can figure out what shell most players will use. So let's say most wouldn't really fight that far. Let's just say they fight within 100 meters. And you can see how your armor will peak against the incoming round at that distance. So you can see where your armor faults. So if you die to a certain vehicle, you can pull up its own statistic, its own round, and if you know what round it was using, you can look at your vehicle and see where you can improve it or what you can hide. So right there, where I just shot was the gunner's breech or the radio operator's machine gun port. I hide it with bushes that I've earned, but some of you might not have those options. And then you can see like small pucks like that that'll pop up. It may happen, but in reality, it's kind of hard to pull off a shot like that. So you just look around, try to figure out where your main points of weaknesses are and see how you can defend against that. So it says here that a huge part would be my turret. My turret is very, very susceptible to this shell. So now with that information in my head, so if I ever fight a Jumbo Sherman with 76 on it, I know that if he shoots anywhere on my hull, I'm basically fine. But if he starts aiming at my turret, I should probably worry. You'd also have X-ray, which will pull up how your crew will look with all the spacing and everything. It'll pull up all the ammo, as in fully stocked, I believe, and it'll show exactly how your internals are laid out. This is also another way to look at vehicles that you have that the enemy might use, so you can see what side the gunner would be on, what side the driver would be on, and the other crew. So even if you're on the opposition and you have this vehicle or you have something like that, you'll figure out where the crews are. But you can also learn that via experience. You could also pull up on by clicking on your vehicle. You can also pull up your modifications to see improvements on what you can do. This is how I recommend you researching your vehicles. Parts, FBE, adjustment of fire, tracks, mobility upgrades, horizontal, elevation, smoke grenades or add-on armor of all sorts, artillery, additional shells, unless they are very, very much needed, then crew. The reason why I chose crew last is in most instances in some games, you won't be sitting at a point all game. So the likelihood of you using that, unless you're severely winning, is very, very slim. But the reason why I say that the rounds is kind of a hit or miss on where you want to use it is because each vehicle and nation is kind of different in where they put the rounds and what round they use stock is the best round. So for Germany, a lot of their vehicles stock round, their starter round is like the best round to use on it. So you wouldn't really need to research this thing because there's not much to learn or not much to use it for. And composite rigid is a meh. I wouldn't rarely use that round unless I had to. But yeah, that's how to use it. Um, you have the options to buy talismans, which basically turn your turn your regular tech tree tank into a premium tank. But that's only if you really, really want to do that. And they also get kind of expensive the later on you go. And here is where you can activate those boosters or those backup vehicle wagers. All you gotta do is hover over the backup vehicle, hit activate on the yellow activate. If you have them, it'll pull it up, and this is where you can choose the amount you have. So I just want to have 5. I hit activate, chess. And now I have 5 backups. You also have the shop, which can redirect you to buy stuff on the marketplace, stuff on the Gaijin store, pull up your collection. And here's a lot of other helpful things you can also look up. The wiki fact support, if you ever have trouble with the game or stuff you want to label in. Battles, here you can start your custom battles from here, World Wars, your own user missions as you download or build, tutorials on how to play the game. Basic, and they're very, very basic tutorials. Single missions you play by yourself, usually things like this, single, dynamic, and historical, you'll have to pay for a certain pack so you can play those campaigns. Benchmarks, see where your PC is struggling at. If you're playing it too hard and you see that you're lagging a little bit, you can run this benchmark, lower your graphics, and you can run the benchmark and see where it's at. You usually will have to restart every time you do this, but it's a good way to see if you're lagging and you think you're doing too much on your the graphics and you don't have a good enough graphics card, or you think it's too much. You can just go fix your graphics or your rendering and run the benchmark, and Usually it'll fix it. Here you can see the leaderboards on community, top players. You can see your placement. I see your squadrons that you can join. I highly recommend you to join squadron, a squad at least, so you can earn some vehicle points, or so that you can just find new players to play with. Like I said, it's a lot more fun and a lot easier for you to play with people than to play by yourself. Replays after every battle, you'll usually have a replay in your section. So after your recent battle, usually it'll pull up a replay, and you can see your last battle and review it and watch it. It's kind of a good teaching tool if you're teaching new players on how you play, but you can use that in other means as well. You don't really have to use this unless you're going to use it for stuff like Thunder Show. There's also the invite your friend program. If you have a friend that's interested in playing the game, you can just you just copy URL, let them link it, they use it, and whenever they reach those tiers, like right here, once they reach rank 3, 70,000 silver, once they've heavily found a 4 and a 7, as they keep going, they earn more. This is also a place where you can find tournaments, streams, you can report issues, contact support, other stuff like that. Usually if you're not in a squadron, you won't have a tag next to your name, but once you do, usually they'll pop up. And over here you can see all your squadrons. You can see how they're looking at each season. You can look for specific squadrons, or you can just look at your own and see the activity. But that's mainly it for the UI. Oh, nearly forgot. You can see your messages after your battle. You can see how much you gained, how much you truly gained after your game. Because you will have costs like ammo, your vehicle's repairing. But if you do well in a game, you won't really have to worry about any of those overhead costs. And every little thing that you do, like buying a trophy or using war bonds, will all be recorded here. Messages, basically how it is. You can message your squad. You can message specific people by clicking on them. So I can talk to my friend. Yeah, I can talk to Kula. I can send him a message, and it'll send him directly a message. So I'll just say hi. You can also create chat rooms with this function. And if you don't want to see the messages anymore, even once you close it out, it'll pop up a marker over here, even after you close it out, so you don't have to really worry about it. Next to it, you can see where your friends are. This will display all your online friends whenever they're online. Notice sometimes it will be buggy and it'll say stuff like unknown, so the game doesn't really know if they're on or not. So it'll just look at it, and even if they're not on your online section and you know they're on and they're talking to you, you can just look for their name, type it in if you want to, or if you already have them as friend, you can just look at your unknown section and see if they're there, and you can just invite them. That's mostly it. You can have people, once you have a squad, you can have people ask to join you for your squad, but most times you just send out invites. On back to the left side, where your vehicle statistics are, you will have all your crew levels, and you'll see out of how many you have out of all of them. And it will also dictate your qualification level. And it'll also have your tracking achievements here, whatever you're tracking. Oh yeah, one another great tip for me for you guys. Please, 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 please. If you're just starting out, please follow BR. You don't have to, but please, it'll make your life so much easier. Just going one by one by one. It may not, it may seem tedious and it may suck at some points, but it'll help you grow. It'll help you learn how to play some vehicles, and it'll somehow, in some way, it will translate and help you improve on your game. So, if you have a 1.0, I'd say the max I would want you to either be is 1.3. But that is just me. So that's how it'd be. So if I had 1.7, the most I put myself is like at 2.0. But even then I'd be stretch. So as a new player or even a player that's going to start a new tree, I just recommend you just keep at the BR levels. If it's at 1.0, just stay at 1.0. If it's unless you're forced to, like you only have 3 vehicles that you can play, then I'd say try to find a way to supplement. But if you have a lot of vehicles like the big superpower trees like USA, Soviets, or Germany, you'll have tons of vehicles to use at almost every BR, premium or not. But yeah, that's my quick rundown on the HUD and why my setup looks like this, and me trying to explain every little thing that you got here in your disposal, just so it can make your life a little bit easier. Alright, thank you so much for you guys listening if you made it this far. And the next thing I'll do is go to another game and try to be more explanatory on how I think and how I approach situations. Thank you. Have a nice day.